the headlines, Naira supply improves as banks comply with Central Bank of Nigeria's directives. Federal government confirms May 3rd for commencement of 2023 census. DSS intercepts criminal gangs, recover AK-47 rifles, other weapons. And on the foreign scene, Codeco militia executes 17 hostages in DR Congo. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Now the news in detail. After several weeks of hardship occasioned by Naira scarcity, some semblance of sanity seems to have returned to banking halls and ATM points in Katsina State. This is because some bank customers were able to access cash with less stress than before, even though some customers who thronged banking halls and ATM points could not get as much cash as they desired. Abdullahi Yamadi visits some banks on IBB Way in Katsina and puts together this report for Trust TV.
The central bank, in an apparent move to avert the planned NLC strike, directed all commercial banks to open on Saturdays and Sundays to enable customers access cash. In Katsina, many residents rushed to some commercial banks as early as 5 a.m. to take advantage of the Apex Bank's directives, but returned home disappointed. They say one can access 40,000 naira at ATM points and 100,000 naira on counter, but after a long queue. To me, the current CBN directives may not be a lasting solution. I believe it is a temporary relief because the planned cashless policy is irreversible. Let no one deceive you. The Naira scarcity will linger. Many of these customers are doubting the sincerity of the central bank, alleging that the show of seriousness at this moment is just to avert the NLC planned nationwide strike, believing that the Naira scarcity will continue to linger. I think Nigerians have endured more than enough, and what the CBN did now, we hope it will be the lasting solution to Naira scarcity. I can't comprehend what the government is all about. Is it fuel scarcity, inflation, insecurity, or what? We are suffering too much for too long. Katsina residents, who are mostly low-income earners, had suffered a lot from the cash crunch, with several businesses collapsing, forcing owners to close down. The situation becomes more difficult during the months of Ramadan, when Muslims are performing the obligatory fasts, coupled with the increasing demand of some essential commodities. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Commercial banks in Bauchi State have complied with the central bank's directives to render services during weekends to customers to reduce the suffering of Nigerians because of Naira scarcity. Adamu Imam, who went around Bank Road in the state and observed that a lot of customers trooped out to withdraw cash. The report.
After staying on queue for just a while, bank customers can now get their money at the counter. Many Nigerians have previously suffered from the central bank redesigned Naira policy, prompting to call for more cash release from the authorities. Things are now returning to normal. I just entered my bank and cashed 20,000 Naira and also withdraw 40,000 at the automated teller machine and get the sum of 40,000 Naira. If they continue like that, in the next 1 or 2 weeks, then we will have cause to thank God. Yes, they dispense cash at the counter inside the bank and will give as high as 500,000 in some banks, but not all of them. We tried to manage our finances when the CBN introduced this policy, but we suffered a lot. We saw red everywhere we went because of the scarcity of the Naira notes. It was so bad that people sold off their goods just to get the cash for usage. It was retrogressive rather than progressive. They should release more cash, please. While others are optimistic with the recent development, the problem of Naira scarcity will soon be over.
We previously used to come here around 5 a.m. My husband used to send me to banks to withdraw cash for us, and he will go out to look for what we could eat. With this development, the situation is bound to change. I just withdrew cash within short time. We thank God. We are praying that this effort will be sustained.
ATM is just money to just crowd at all crowded like this. It's still not good, but at least they have tried. They should put more effort.
But you will see a lot. Somebody will came out from morning to evening looking, seeking for 1,000 naira, and at the end of the day, he will end up getting nothing. So please, we want the government to keep on putting more pressure to see this situation to be solved and once and for all.
Financial experts believe that such policies should be designed for the benefit of the ordinary people with sustained enlightenment before implementation. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Similarly, commercial banks in Kaduna State obeyed the directive of Central Bank of Nigeria to operate over the weekend in order to dispense cash to customers. Residents are expressing delight on the development as they can now withdraw money from the banks. Trust TV's Bello Musa sent in this report.
The implementation of the Naira redesign policy has led to a severe scarcity on banknotes in circulation. Nigerians have experienced harsh economic conditions as a result of the cash crunch.
At times there was a day I used 400 to buy my 1,000 naira because I need the money urgent. Then it was paining me, but I need the money. I just have to close my eye. I buy it like that.
It wasn't easy. Yeah, because sometimes even if you go through online to the network and so, but at least now things are really getting better.
On hearing news of the directives by CBN to commercial banks to open bank over the weekend, residents heave a huge sigh of relief. Residents who were in dire need of cash to cater for their needs beseech banks to withdraw money. However, customers can only withdraw from the counter while people prefer ATM services in the metropolis.
Yes, I withdraw. How much? I withdraw 30,000. But the last maximum that you can withdraw, 40,000.
There is no how we will tell you that the last few months is better off than today. No. Nobody will ever tell you that. If this thing will continue like this, what I saw today, I will give glory to God.
I only met like 2 people, sir. So it's even now that I saw crowd people coming, but it was simple. I tried it once and I withdraw.
And even today, that is Saturday, they withdraw. Sunday today, you can get inside the bank and withdraw. You can come to ATM and withdraw. It's only that maximum of the withdrawal.
Are they working inside the bank?
They are working inside the bank. If you want to withdraw, I will go inside the bank and catch your money.
Over this weekend, most banks were open, but a few people spotted entering the banking hall. Despite the reprieve, residents are appealing to government to make cash more available in order to alleviate the suffering of the common man. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
At least 206 bread bakeries have shut down their activities in 17 local government areas of Yobe State. The chairman, Master Bakers and Caterers of Nigeria, Yobe Chapter, Manu Mebredi, said this in an exclusive interview with Daily Trust in Damaturu, the state capital. He said Boko Haram attacks, COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, naira scarcity and lack of government interventions are major drivers of collapse in the factories. According to him, many bakeries were struggling to survive due to the high cost of production, as inflation and cashless policy have made things worse than they are. Mebredi said most members had lost their means of livelihood, while others have been out of job due to the shutdown. The National Population and Housing Commission has confirmed May 3rd for the commencement of the 2023 census exercise. Director General of the agency, Garba Abari, disclosed this on Sunday in Abuja. Abari said the agency has begun a nationwide sensitization and advocacy to educate Nigerians on the forthcoming National Population and Housing Census. He said the sensitization is to enlighten the public on the importance of census towards national planning and development. Abari, who is a member of the National Publicity and Advocacy Committee for the Census, said the National Population Commission has an elaborate publicity in the media advocacy work plan that will saturate the airwaves effective Sunday. He reiterated the commitment of NOA in carrying out sensitization programs across every local government, especially rural areas, on the need to be captured in the exercise. A high court in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, has issued an order attaching funds standing to the credit of the Oyo State government and its agencies in 4 banks. Justice A.O. Ebong issued the order while ruling on a motion ex parte filed by the ex-chairpersons and councillors led by Bashorun Majid, Bosun Ajuwon and Idris Okushesi. The affected banks are First Bank, United Bank for Africa, Wema Bank and Zenith Bank. The funds, according to court filings, are to settle the outstanding balance of over 3 billion naira from the judgment debt owed some former local government chairpersons and councillors sacked on 29th May 2019 before the end of the tenure by Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State. Now moving on to security, the Department of State Services says it has intercepted criminal gangs in various parts of the country, recovering different kinds of weapons from them. A statement by the DSS spokesperson, Peter Afunanya, said the secret police carried out a joint operation with sister security agencies in Kogi State on 26th of March 2023, and Afunanya said the security team intercepted a 6-man criminal gang at Gegu Beki along Lokoja Abuja Road during the operation. While the gang includes Colonel A.U. Suleiman retired, Barrister M.K. Aminu, Kabir Abdullahi, Isa Umar Kadir Echi and Adam Abdul Karim. Items recovered from the members are 1 pump-action rifle, 4 cartridges, 1 AK-47 empty shell, and the sum of 11,030 naira. According to him, the service operatives apprehended a 20-year-old suspected notorious kidnapper, Haruna Adamu, at Fota Village in Gombe local government area, Adamawa State, on Saturday, 25th March 2023. At the point of arrest, 1 AK-47 rifle, 1 magazine, and 4 rounds of 7.62mm live ammunition were recovered from the suspect, according to the DSS. Police authorities in Nasarawa State have paraded 17 suspected political thugs for various offences in the recently concluded elections in the state. Parading the suspects at the police headquarters in Lafia on Sunday, the public relations officer in the state, Rahman Nansal, said they were arrested with arms and ammunition. He said some of the suspects were imported from Imo and the neighboring Federal Capital Territory with the aim of disrupting the recent elections in the state. According to him, the Commissioner of Police in the state, Mayaki Muhammad Baba, had raised an alarm over moves by certain political elements in the state to import thugs with the intent of causing a breach of peace during the presidential and National Assembly elections. You're watching Trust News Updates. Coming up after the break, we look at how the demand for eggs is not affected by the increase in price. Stay with us.
documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Trust News Update, a recap of our top stories. We told you that Naira supply improves as banks comply with Central Bank of Nigeria's directives. You also heard that federal government confirms May 3rd for commencement of 2023 census. Moving to other stories, the Nigerian Office of the West African Examination Council has said the council will no longer use manual confirmation or stamping of certificates of candidates who sat the West African Senior School Certificate examination from 1999 till date. This was made in a statement by the council's acting head of public affairs, Moyoshola Adeshina. WAEC urged its stakeholders and the general public to utilize the digital certificate platform to ease the bottlenecks associated with the manual access and confirmation system. This followed the launch of the examination body's digital certificate platform for a seamless and timely mode of availing stakeholders of their candidates' certificates. Days after the commencement of this year's Ramadan fasting, the price of eggs has increased in Jos, the capital of Plateau State. Trust TV's Ado Musa visited the popular Yankaji market where eggs are sold in large quantity and reports that prices have shot up, but demand for the commodity is still high. The report.
Before the commencement of this year's Ramadan fasting, sellers of the commodity say they sold a crate of egg between 700 and 1,000 naira, a development that many of them were not happy with. But with the commencement of the fasting, the price of a crate has risen to 1,800 naira. The sellers of the commodity attribute the sudden increase to the Ramadan fasting, where many people, especially Muslims, utilize it more than any other period. Some of the sellers of the egg explain about the increase in the price. Before the Ramadan started, there was naira scarcity, making the egg to be available. As a result of that, the price went down because there was no buyers. But close to the commencement of the fasting, people started getting money following the CBN directive to issue the old naira notes to customers, and the price suddenly shot up. Actually, before Ramadan fasting, the egg was available and the price fell down, but people didn't have money to buy. Now the egg is not available and people are in need of it, but the price has increased. An egg that was sold 30 naira is now 60 naira. The chairman of the market, Sani Muhammad, says, aside from the Ramadan fasting, the recent release of all naira notes by the commercial banks also attributed to the price boost. Stakeholders in the market are confident that price of the eggs will continue to increase even after fasting period if commercial banks keep releasing the old naira notes to their customers. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Away from Nigeria, according to local community leader Banguneni Gbalande, at least 17 hostages of Codeco insurgents were slain in the Judu territory, located about 45 kilometers north of Bunia in the Ituri province of the Democratic Republic of Congo. According to the source, who wished to remain anonymous for security reasons, a pregnant woman was among those held captive. In the gold-rich Ituri province, dozens of people have been killed every week since the close of 2022. 30 people, including women and children, have died in a string of massacres that have been attributed to Codeco militia in recent days. A militia known as Codeco claims to defend the Lendu community from the troops and the Hema, a different ethnic group. Sudan's military chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, reaffirmed that the army will be replaced under the authority of a new civilian-led government as talks on military reforms began as part of a lengthy transition to civilian rule. According to al-Burhan, the process of security and military reform is a long and complicated one that cannot be bypassed. The army's al-Burhan took power in a 2021 coup that scuttled a short-lived democratic transition after al-Burhan was ousted in 2019. The proposed reforms include the integration of the powerful paramilitary Rapid Support Forces led by al-Burhan's deputy, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemeti, into the regular army. The Sudanese army has a long tradition of military takeovers and has accumulated considerable economic assets, and it wants the RSF, which by some estimates numbers up to 100,000 fighters, to be brought under its control. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now let's move on to sports. In what tennis pundits have described as a significant move and breakthrough for Nigeria's tennis, Africa's #1 ranked under-14 player Seun Ogunsakin has qualified for a wild card to play at the Junior Grand Slam in Wimbledon later this year. The young starlet is also set to embark on a European tour before the prestigious grass tournament begins. Ogunsakin this year rose to the peak of the African under-14 junior rankings from the #4 position he held for a while. The Tunisia-based star is now the #1 junior player in the whole of Africa and is setting his sights on breaking into the World Tour rankings after his feat. At a recent 2-week competition in Togo, he also included the African Junior Championships that had the continent's best players. Ogunsakin won both without dropping a set. This move helped him rise to the top of his junior rankings, therefore qualifying to play in the Junior Wimbledon as a wildcard entrant. And finally, the draw for the men's FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Indonesia has been cancelled days after Bali's governor called for Israel to be kicked out of the competition. The two countries do not have formal diplomatic relations, and support for the Palestinian cause in the world's most populous Muslim-majority nation runs high, fueling local opposition to hosting the Israeli team. Fixtures for the 24-nation tournament beginning in May were due to be chosen on Friday in Bali, but FIFA cancelled the event without giving a reason or setting a new date, the Indonesian Football Association said. Officials say a likely factor in the draw's cancellation was a call by Bali Governor Wayan Koster for Israel to be banned over its policies towards Palestinians in a letter sent to the Ministry of Youth and Sports this month. And with this, we've come to the end of Trust News Updates. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.